Hello friends, so today I'll be talking on this 16th update. So again HCQ has come back with sort of a vengeance to say that it is not useful. So based on this new Lancet article which came, so I thought I'll just review this in the light of the previous HCQ studies. So as you see, it's 25th May. This article came on I think 22nd May 2020. So this was the article, hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine with or without a macrolide for treatment of COVID-19. So this was a first thing we need to bear in mind is it's a registry analysis. So it is not a trial, it is a retrospective registry analysis. So this came in Lancet on 22nd May 2020. So the patients that were studied were taken from 671 hospitals across 6 continents. And the study was conducted from the patient data from 20th December 2019 to 14th April 2020. So the inclusion criteria, so the data if they had to include for the study, so it had to be patients who were started on treatment within 48 hours of diagnosis of COVID. So they divided the patient into 4 groups. So the patients who got only chloroquine, and the group of patients who got chloroquine with macrolides, and a group of patients who got only hydroxychloroquine, and the fourth group who got hydroxychloroquine with macrolides. And this they controlled with this they compared with the control group. So outcome was to look at hospital mortality and looking at ventricular arrhythmias. So in ventricular arrhythmias, they divided into 3 categories to look at patients who had sustained ventricular tachycardia, a group which had non-sustained ventricular tachycardia, and ventricular fibrillation. So this was their outcome they looked at in these patients. So this was a whopping number, 96,032 patients taken from 6 continents. And the mean age was 53.8 years. So all were COVID positives. 46.3% were females. Like any other studies you would have seen, males tended to be having more occurrence of COVID. So females were little less. And total death surprisingly was a little more. As you see, I've always been telling the mortality is always in double digit when they get hospitalized. So these are all hospitalized patients, and we are fairly clear now. Hospitalized death rate runs in double digits. It's more than 10%. So as you see here, it is 11.1%. So they had 10,698 deaths. So the mean length of stay was 9.1 days. So that was the hospital length of stay. This is the standard deviation 6.4. So if you look at the geographical distribution from where the patients came, 17.3% of the patients who were studied came from North America, 7.9% came from Europe, 4.6% small percentage came from Asia, 3.7% from Africa, and 0.6% from South America. So this was the geographical distribution of the patients from different continents. So when you look at comorbidities, generally if you have seen the previous Chinese study or the US study, the predominant comorbid we used to find was hypertension. Here they found predominant comorbidity was hyperlipidemia. 31.4% of the patients had hyperlipidemia, 13.8% had hypertension, followed by diabetes 3.3, 3% of the patients had COPD, and COPD and ex-smoker 17.2% were ex-smoker, and 9.9% of the patients were current smokers, and 12.6% had coronary artery disease, and 2.5% had congestive cardiac failure. So these were the comorbids, and 3.5% had history of arrhythmias also. So again, it goes to show that they have given this medications, hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine, to a group of patients who have had history of arrhythmia. So just bear that in mind, because this was a study which refutes the use of hydroxychloroquine. So here you have a significant percentage of patients with coronary artery disease, with heart failure and arrhythmias, and hydroxychloroquine bar chloroquine was administered for these patients without mention of doing QTC monitoring. So that again is one of the limitations which I would say of this particular study, which I'll talk about. So when they even looked at the type of other antivirals they give along with hydroxychloroquine and macrolide. 40.5% of the patients in the whole study population received other antivirals. So as we understand, some of the antivirals also can prolong QTC. So they have 40.5% have had other antivirals given. So lopinavir and ritonavir were given in 31.6% of the patients. Ribavirin was given in 20.3% of the patients. Oseltamivir was given in 13.1% of the patients. And combination of these were given in 17.4%. So there were multiple other drugs also which were given along with HCQ and macrolides, both of which will increase the QT prolongation, and with oseltamivir also. So that also has to be borne in mind. So they looked at the mean dosages of drug given for these patients. So the mean dosage of chloroquine that was administered was 765 milligram. That's the standard deviation 308, and this is the mean number of days for which chloroquine was given, 6.6 days. So it was given for around 6 to 7 days. And they looked at chloroquine and macrolide. Here also the mean dose was around 790 and the mean days was 6.8. ST is the standard deviation, 2.5 days. And if you look at hydroxychloroquine, the typical dose we say is 400 mg once a day, BD for 1 day. So here they have given around 596 milligram, and the mean duration is 4.2, 4 to 5 days. We suggest for 5 days, so they have given for 4.2 days. So it's slightly more than 400 mg per day. So you could take the loading dose they may have given. So 596. So when they look at hydroxychloroquine with macrolide also, it's around the same 597 milligram, standard deviation of 128 and 4.3 days. So that was the duration and the dose of drugs that was administered. So this is the results which was spoken about as serious limitations of using this hydroxychloroquine. So 96,032 patients. Look at the control group. So control group had maximum number of patients, 81,144. Chloroquine group had 1,869, and chloroquine with macrolide had a bigger number, 3,783. HCQ 3,000, and hydroxychloroquine with macrolides was the biggest number. So if you look at mortality, mortality was high in all these four groups compared to the control groups, and they were all significant. And the highest was seen in this hydroxychloroquine with macrolide group, 23.8, followed by chloroquine with macrolide. So these were all significant. Then they looked at arrhythmias. Arrhythmias, if you look again, arrhythmias also are very similar to mortality, highest in hydroxychloroquine with macrolide, followed by chloroquine with macrolide. So the trend is similar. So basically it appears that arrhythmia has had a corroboration with mortality, in the sense the frequency of it occurring appeared to be very similar to mortality. But when you look at control group, the risk was only 0.3%. So this was the staggering number that has created a flurry of activity in our scientific forums about the limitations of usage of hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine. So this is the thing. But when you dig into the depth of the study, so what this study will show is, see, just look at this. So what this is a beautiful table which again shows there was a gross mismatching between the baseline characteristics. Why I would say that is, there is a statistical significance about the distribution of cases. So if you look at coronary artery disease, so as you see, it is more 22.1%. There were more coronary artery disease in non-survivors, and congestive heart failure in non-survivors, and risk of arrhythmia also was more in non-survivors, and the risk of all comorbids was more in non-survivors. So what this basically table tells me is that there were sicker patients in non-survivor which had a lot of comorbids, and they had a history of arrhythmias, and there we have administered this drug. So and possibly we could only assume, because although it is not clearly mentioned, that there were more sicker patients in non-survivor group who got administered these medicines, and all these are statistically significant. So which goes on to say this non-survivor group where hydroxychloroquine, they were symptomatic, they were more sicker with lot more comorbid problems. And to say that only hydroxychloroquine, although they said they have done propensity analysis to look at independent variable, so this has been questioned by 3 other subsequent rebuttal that has come, that that matching may not have been adequate, because you would see more sicker patients with more comorbids receiving this drug having died. So that's what this would do. And this is more pertinent in the next slide which I would show. See, if you look at this slide, the Q SOFA less than 1, which means the less sicker ones were in survivors, the more sicker ones were in non-survivors, which means anyway there were more sicker ones who got administered and they died. And even if you look at all this chloroquine, so all this was given. See, if you look at the administration of chloroquine and macrolide, it was given more in non-survivor groups, which means obviously they were sick, they were possibly more symptomatic. That's why you have given drugs more to them and not given drugs to people who are possibly stable in survival. So I would say there has not been a matching of baseline characteristics between the survivor group and non-survival. So our assumption would be that patients were possibly more sicker, patients were possibly having more comorbid problems. That's why you administered drug as a desperate measure and they all died. So this is the sort of assumption one could make, because the matching has not been, and this is a registry retrospective, this is not a trial. To say on the face value that it is only the drug which has contributed, because statistical significance runs through and through with gross differences between the two groups, is what I could think of. And even here, if you see, this is another interesting. This is an interesting table which looks at what are the risk factors associated with death, and that we have discussed. People with arrhythmias, all this right side were the risk factors associated with death. Anyone with comorbid, diabetes, hypertension. But what is interesting, the previous studies had shown that ACE, people who are on ACE inhibitor had higher mortality. Here they found people who are on ACE inhibitor or statin had a protective effect. So as you see, there is decreased risk of death in patients who are on AC. This is a very interesting finding in this study, which goes against the previous studies, which said people with hypertension who are on AC inhibitors are at a higher risk. So this study proves otherwise. So this study is contrary to the findings of the previous study, which I thought was very interesting. And this is also a table which again shows that patients who had congestive cardiac failure, coronary artery, and who had arrhythmias, in fact, they were administered more of this hydroxychloroquine, and there is absolutely no mention whether their ECG monitoring and QTC monitoring was done. So there is no mention throughout the manuscript, which even authors they write in discussion that that is a limitation of the study, because there is no documentation or follow up or record of that QTC that has been monitored, and that is an important limitation which authors themselves cite in the discussion. So I believe that is a serious limitation of this, and to say on the face value so that this drug has caused all the deaths itself becomes little superfluous at this point of time. And we have understood that this drug has to be given with a baseline ECG and monitoring of QTC. If someone is not doing that, obviously you would put a patient at a greater risk of dying. So that would be our thought process on when you read this manuscript at a face value. So limitation is it is an observational study, it is a retrospective study of all the data and looking at the data. So it is a registry study, it is not a trial. So obviously there is serious limitations in making strong conclusions saying HCQ is useless at this stage based on this retrospective analysis, where the whole baseline characteristics seem to be very grossly mismatched, and you have given this drug for more sicker patients with lot more comorbids, even in patients with arrhythmias, without QTC prolongation, and saying that this drug has caused death becomes a difficult thing for us to subscribe at this point of time, to say this is absolutely useless. It may be useless, but we need more randomized controlled trials to conclusively say that yes, we should possibly not use this drug. And as I kept reiterating time and again, baseline characteristics are not matched between the control groups and the study group, and QTC not being evaluated or not being looked at when you're using these drugs, which clearly we understand can cause QTC, itself is a serious limitation of this particular study. So how much ever you read that paper, that's all is the essence of that study. So I thought I'll just remind you about the previous studies just in a summary form. So this study was preceded by this negative study which came by the Brazilian group. This was a study done in 81 patients. Again, this study I have discussed in the previous video, where again I have said this chloroquine. This study is basically compared between high dose chloroquine and low dose chloroquine, and they had to stop this study in the interim because of the serious side effects in high dose. And even this study had limitations because the high dose was given in more older patients in this study, and older patients who had coronary artery disease got higher dosage. So the number of patients who got higher dosages were more in coronary artery disease group. So that also had a bearing. And here again it showed that QTC prolongation was more in high dosage chloroquine group, and ventricular arrhythmias was more. And another important finding of this Brazilian study was they did not show viral clearance, because the first French study which showed effectiveness of hydroxychloroquine was predominantly looking at the viral clearance. That was not shown in this. As you see, the nasopharyngeal shedding clearance never happened in high dose chloroquine group in this. and myocarditis happened in 8.3%, and one patient had rhabdomyolysis. So the Brazilian study basically compared higher dose and lower dose, and what we realized is higher dose hydroxychloroquine group had older patients with coronary artery disease, and viral clearance never happened with this. This was a negative trial. This was another US study which came in NEJM. It was a preprint edition. We don't know if this is published yet. It came on 4th April 2020. The conclusion of this study was hydroxychloroquine did not prevent patients from going on escalation of respiratory support. So it did not have any bearing. In fact, patients who are on hydroxychloroquine need escalation of respiratory support from non-rebreather to ventilator, and it did not have any effect on mortality. And this study looked at whether lymphocyte count improved with hydroxychloroquine. They did not see improvement in the hydroxychloroquine group. And the other thing they looked at, neutrophil lymphocyte ratio they looked at, and they did not find the reduction in neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, because you would ordinarily see reduction in the neutrophil lymphocyte ratio. That we did not see here because there was no change. So this was another negative study. The two positive trials which came prior to this negative trials are from this French study, and we have seen this. So 36 patients where they showed day 6 viral clearance happened much better in hydroxychloroquine group as compared to the control group. And when they combined hydroxychloroquine with azithromycin, day 6 viral clearance happened in 100% of the patients. This unfortunately we didn't see in the Brazilian study. Brazilian study, high dose chloroquine did not show any viral clearance, but this French study had shown by day 6 complete viral clearance. And in fact, viral clearance happened from 3 to 6 days, and there was a significant difference of viral clearance at day 3 that this French study documented. So that was the positive study which came prior to these two negative studies. And this was another positive study which came by Chinese authors on April 2020, where they looked at 62 patients and they found time to complete resolution of clinical symptoms of fever and cough happened much earlier in hydroxychloroquine group, 2.6 days versus 3.2 days. That was statistically significant. And radiological improvement also happened much better with hydroxychloroquine as compared to. So until these two studies, it was equipoised, because the French trial and this Chinese study said hydroxychloroquine helps, but the Brazilian study and the US study, which came as a preprint NEJM, which I don't think is published, both said it did not make any difference with viral shedding, nor it prevented patients from going on a ventilator or mortality or neutrophil lymphocyte ratio. So this was the stand of us, that it was equipoised, and so we were still arguing until this Lancet study came. But I believe Lancet study is only a registry. There is serious limitation of not completely being matched between the baseline characteristics. So what we could make out is patients who were treated were sicker, so they had a lot more comorbids, and they did not do QTC evaluation. And obviously people who are sicker with lot more comorbids, they would die, and that is what is reflected in the paper. So it is nothing to do, it is very hard to say, although they say that regression analysis and propensity matched analysis was done. The three subsequent comments from different authors as a rebuttal to that has said that matching may not have been adequate, because there is no clarity as to how effectively the matching was done to determine that confounders were removed. So I would end with this, obviously, cartoon. So thank you very much. So at this point of time, we cannot base our logical conclusions saying that we should put a hold to hydroxychloroquine. Yes, there is some signals which tell us there may be serious side effects that may have to be monitored. But in our state, where we have been using, like we have been doing telerounds for 14 districts and 250 patients have been treated with HCQ, we don't we don't think we have seen any patient dying of any of these arrhythmias, or even we have treated sick patients. So there has been no death, at least we could say, that has happened from arrhythmia. So I think the need of the hour is ICMR should take up this study and look into their own data and see if these side effects that has been reported is what we are witnessing in India, and take it from there. So at this point of time, I don't think, based on this study, we should put a roadblock. We would obviously await to see results of a lot of other randomized controlled trials that are happening to make logical conclusions on hydroxychloroquine. So thank you very much.